Hello, welcome to another episode of the TCB Group Insurance Information. So we talked about term life, we talked about children's whole life, we even talked about living benefits on term life policies. So now I want to talk about just straight whole life policies. So these are policies that, depending on the carrier, you can get, like I mentioned, anywhere from the age of 14 days old all the way up to the age of 85 typically. Um, I actually have a carrier that offers whole life from the age of 14 days all the way up to 85. Some carriers only start offering whole life at 40 years old or 50 years old. So there's usually a gap between 18 and 40 or 50. So it really depends on the carrier. That's why I like to work with so many different carriers so that I can offer my clients a solution that's going to fit their needs. I'm not um, hindered by, oh, I only work for this one carrier and these are only the products we have. No, if this carrier doesn't work for you, then I've got this other carrier that I can switch you to or we can apply with them. So, that being said, what is whole life? Well, whole life is a lot simpler than term in that whole life is whole life. And you want to make sure that if you get a whole life policy that you get a level whole life policy. What does that mean? Well, level means that your premium is never going to change. So most whole life policies last through either the year or the age rather of 100 or 110 or 120. Now, most people are not going to live to 100, much less 110 or 120. So it is a true whole life product. And if you get the level premium, then the premium is never going to change. So remember earlier I mentioned in episode 2 about children's whole life that I got my son, who's not even 4 months old, a whole life policy, and his premium will never change for his whole life. So he'll be paying that $19 and change for the $50,000 whole life policy all the way up into the age of 80 or 90 or whatever. So he'll have that 50,000 and the price will never change. The other nice thing about whole life policies is that they build cash value. And the longer you have them, the more cash value they're going to build. So it's kind of a uh, get it and forget it type of policy where you don't ever have to worry about it, whether it's enough to uh, leave some money for your dependents, covering any final expenses you might have, uh, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe you just want to get it early because it costs less, right? Because your age that you get the insurance at makes the premium lower. And the nice thing about a whole life is you get it at, a year old or 5 years old or even 20 years old. It's going to be a lot cheaper than if you're like, oh, I'm 60 years old now. I probably need to look into getting a whole life. Well, you're going to be paying a lot more premium for the same amount of coverage that you could have gotten when you were younger. So that's a little bit about whole life. Make sure that you get it while you're young or young enough to be able to afford it, and that you get the level premium. So talk to you soon.